Hi guys, my name's Dale and welcome to D&DGaming. If this is your first time visiting our channel, we provide honest, in-depth game reviews on a wide range of PC games and review them from the perspective of two experienced gamers. We highly recommend you click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our up-and-coming game reviews. If you find you like this review, remember to give it a thumbs up by hitting that like button. With that said, in for review this time around is Secret Files 2 Puritas Cordis. Reviewing the game with me is my brother Dav.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Secret Files 2 Puritas Cordis is a story-driven adventure game developed by Fusionsphere Systems and Animation Arts, published by Deep Silver, and is a sequel to the heavily criticised Secret Files Tunguska. Secret Files 2 Puritas Cordis was released in 2009 for Windows PC, Nintendo Wii and Nintendo DS. Subsequent releases then followed on iOS and Android mobile phones in 2017 and Nintendo Switch in 2019. You play as Nina Kalenkov, and after taking a cruise to get over a relationship breakup, Nina is drawn into investigating strange events that happened during the course of the cruise. So following our review of the first Secret Files game and the shockingly shit scores we gave that game, as a viewer you're probably wondering, why are we reviewing its sequel? Well, as we speak, our review of Secret Files Tunguska has given us the greatest number of views on our channel by some way, for some weird reason, so we thought, fuck it, let's shamelessly review the sequel.
Do you think that's funny? Or do you fancy a new set of teeth?
So Dale, what were your first impressions?
Well, let's just say I didn't have high expectations for this one after playing the first game, and it was lucky I didn't, as it turned out to be a steaming pile of turd.
Ah, here we go again, another shit Files game. I feel a lot of cringy voice clips incoming.
Well, if you say so.
So what were your general thoughts following playthrough?
I'm seriously starting to wonder if the developers of this series made the first game as some sort of joke, and then when it somehow miraculously broke even on costs, I'm assuming it did actually break even, then they decided to see how many games they could troll their way through before people stopped buying them. I'm just glad I haven't actually had to pay for any of them, as we got them for free through Amazon Games.
Yeah, I still can't believe they made this game. The first one was so bad.
Sergey would never leave such a sweet ass hanging.
Okay, that's a relief then.
It does seem like they rushed this. They should have spent more time improving the bad elements of the first game, but instead they made the same shit stick to the wall twice.
Thanks for the compliment.
So in terms of graphic options, well, these are almost non-existent. You've got three options: shadows, video quality, and lighting, and that's it.
Yeah, pathetic limited graphic options, as to be expected, really.
In terms of graphics and graphic performance, this does at least play in full screen and a decent aspect ratio compared to the first game. The static backgrounds are similar to the first game and do have a kind of cartoonish appeal to them, which I do quite like. I said that in the review of the first game, and a lot of that's carried over to this. They're quite nicely done, but they are probably the easiest part of the graphics to do. The 3D elements have thankfully been at least slightly improved over the first game, but only slightly. They're more like a turd with a cherry on top.
It's not worth putting up our PC specs on this one, as we usually would at this point, as I can't imagine that running on a PC from the 1980s would show this any different in terms of its graphics. In fact, I could probably run it on a turd I didn't flush this morning, and it'll still look like the same shit on screen. Although I will admit the background graphics do look slightly better than the first Secret Files game. The aspect ratio and resolution are locked and can't be changed, whatever aspect ratio and resolution it actually is. The graphics in the background scenes were okay, but on the characters themselves it's terrible, lots of jagged edges and low resolution textures, so no improvement on the first game here.
What an idiot.
So what do you think about the player controls?
I have to say that one improvement in the controls is that you can actually run in this one. The fact you couldn't run in the first game was one of my main gripes. Otherwise, this is just standard point and click type controls here.
Yeah, typical third person only really. Left and right mouse click, usual point and click controls, Dale's pointed out. Controls are just as fucking clunky as the first game, so no improvement made here either.
Better not ruin it.
So in terms of game story, as with the first Secret Files game, you mainly play as Nina Kalenkov, but also sometimes have control of two other main characters in the game, dependent on the story and the scene. An increase of disasters around the world leads to Nina's father, Vladimir Kalenkov, being called upon to investigate. Meanwhile, following the events of Tunguska in the first Secret Files game, after an undisclosed amount of time, Nina breaks up with her boyfriend Max Gruber. The beginning of this game starts with Nina deciding to go on a cruise during the separation from Max. Whilst on the cruise, events take a strange turn and Nina is forced into investigating the situation on the ship and becoming more involved in an unravelling mystery.
In terms of the game mechanics, as we said, you've got the usual point and click mechanics, which lead you to search the scenes for items or clues or to speak to people in that scene. They're largely static environments which provide the backdrop to the game scenes. As with the first Secret Files game, there's lots of largely illogical combinations of items that create progression in the game. Found it slightly easier in this one, having played the first game, as you know not to add any logic in from your own brain and just look for the most illogical items to combine. That works 100% of the time in this. Example of ridiculous combinations includes fitting a hose reel with a hose on it to a motorcycle as a wheel.
I've fixed plenty of motorcycles before, but this is a bit different.
So the front forks of the motorbike will just connect to the hose reel with no bolt or pin to hold in place. Fucking ridiculous. Conversations with NPCs help to unravel the story and gain information and items. There's a lot of going back and forth through environments, picking up items and searching areas for clues. There are numerous puzzles to solve, which can be quite challenging. In terms of the UI, I like that you hover over the UI to bring it up rather than it being there the whole time on this one. It gives a cleaner look to the screen and allows you to really admire those lovely pixelated graphics.
Do you fancy a new set of teeth?
Yeah, it's just a simple inventory along the bottom of the screen for the items you pick up and a notebook for clues and information. With the first game, the menu was locked in place, but as Dale's pointed out with this one, it disappears and is found by hovering over the bottom of the screen. Even though it cleans the screen up, I actually found this more annoying, as in some of the scenes you need to access the bottom of the screen to move the character there, and when you do, the inventory keeps popping up and blocks part of the screen where you're trying to click. Again, just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I do agree on that point, actually. Although I liked the fact that it gave a cleaner look to the screen. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes you'd hover the mouse over, you didn't want it to come up. You wanted to just move on to the next bit, and it still came up anyway.
So in terms of sound and music, what do you think?
Somehow they managed to choose a worse voice actress for Nina than the first game.
This might be a good time to demonstrate my superior acting skills.
Well, hello there, purty thing. I'm totally plastered, but I wanted to thank you so much.
I actually preferred the original voice actress.
That's a relief then.
The main intro music actually has a quite nice orchestral theme that was quite nice to listen to. The voice acting, though, like the first game, doesn't use localized accents in many parts. Some parts it did, and others it didn't. For example, in one part of the game, you come across a homeless guy in France that somehow speaks perfect English.
How on earth did you get down there?
It seems with all that time on his hands being homeless, he put it to good use and managed to learn another language fluently.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, so the sounds are basically the same as the first game. Cringily shit, cheesy, echoey voice acting combined with basic, sometimes repetitive environment sounds.
What's wrong with you? You're crying like a baby that's lost its teddy bear.
There is basic music and a few bits, but as to expected, it's mostly shit.
There's a note at the foot of the children's carousel.
No attempt seems to have been made to improve the sounds in this game from the first game, really. As with the first Secret Files game, Puritas Cordis is set in a number of locations, but the NPC's voice acting always end up being completely unimmersive, while having American voiced actors in France.
Hello? Are you there?
Yes, you're lucky to catch me in. I was just about to go shopping.
This really breaks immersion, of which the game has very little anyway. So in terms of bugs and glitches...
Luckily I didn't come across any. It's kind of a shame, actually. I was hoping for a completely game-breaking bug, so I didn't actually have to finish it.
Yeah, so I suppose you could call it good news that I didn't come across any bugs.
So to sum up, things I liked about the game, and it's quite hard to give really any positives about it, but they did at least improve on some issues in the first game, such as the aspect ratio and the fact that you can run in this one. Some of the locations looked quite nice graphically, and I got a certain amount of satisfaction from solving a few of the puzzles, but really, that's about it.
Yeah, for me, there's not many things I liked about this. I can only really repeat what I said about the first game. I mean, I'm struggling to think of anything that's good to say about this one too. I suppose quite challenging puzzles at times and not particularly hand-holdy in that respect. You could search locations without things flashing in your face like modern games, and if you needed help to see where an item of interest is, you could click on the spyglass in the UI menu.
So in terms of things I didn't like, well, the convoluted dialogue and bad voice acting just ruined it again for me. It was like watching a bad movie, but instead of just having to sit back and watch a couple of hours of a movie, you have to actively contribute and spend like 7 to 10 hours dragging your way through it. Like the first one, ridiculous combinations of items at times, and it can be so annoying that sometimes the items must be done in a very specific order. For example, if you just happen to misclick or you miss combining a particular item, and then you come across another item by searching around, you then have to go through that whole kind of process again of trying the combinations until you find something that works, and it's very tedious. I didn't like that there was lots of breaking of the fourth wall in the dialogue, which really didn't help with any immersion. At times, Nina or the other characters would be speaking to you directly or even be referencing the game development, and it really wasn't necessary.
Yeah, so for me, it was just terrible continuity. The first cutscene in the game has an old guy that gets shot in the neck with a dart. You see the dart hit his neck, and then the camera changes to show the attackers. When it goes back to the old guy a moment later, the dart's disappeared from his neck.
Anyone there?
And it's just shockingly poor attention to detail. The mugshot image that comes up while a person is engaged in a conversation is so pointless. 99.9% of the time, the person you're talking to is on the same screen as you are, and you can hear and see who is talking, so you don't need an image of that person coming up. I get this is helpful if you're playing the game and you're deaf or hard of hearing, but from a game development point of view, why not have the pop-up mugshots as an optional thing to switch on within the game settings if needed? It just becomes annoying the way it keeps flicking between the two images of the people in the conversation. So in terms of the inventory that comes up as part of the UI, as I mentioned earlier, it just gets really annoying when you're trying to move the character into the lower part of the screen and the menu keeps popping up and blocking the character. The story was shockingly bad. I mean, no spoilers, but nothing good could be said about it in my opinion. And it just wasn't immersive or gripping in any way. It was very far-fetching. So in terms of missed opportunities in this one, do you think there are any?
I think the biggest missed opportunity is that they could have stopped making the series entirely after the horrendous first game, and they missed the opportunity to just walk away from it entirely.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, basic functionality. There are multiple bits in the game where you have to pass items from one character to another, say through a gap in the wall, and then switch players using the button that appears in the inventory menu. But when you pass things through, you can only pass items one at a time. And each time you do, the character says, "Psst, I've got something for you." And this just repeats every time you pass an item through, which gets really annoying and takes ages. Why didn't they just add a function where you could select multiple items and pass them through, saving the repetitiveness? As with the first game, character animations could have been way better right across the game, and this would have helped with the immersion. So in terms of scores, Dale, what do you think?
I'm really quite surprised this follow-up was made at all, to be honest. And there are clearly people out there that bought the first game in order for the devs to justify making the second. It's hard to believe, though, that anyone genuinely enjoys this series, and I can't help but think the devs relied on a new audience buying in who had never played the first game. That being said, I do think that it's marginally better than the first game, and so I'm going to score it slightly higher than I did on that and give this one a 4.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I still can't believe they made this game following how shoddy the first one was. But the fact that this doesn't even improve on the first game in any notable way is unbelievable. It's actually worse in a lot of ways that I found. Poor continuity, mixed up far-fetched story that doesn't really make much sense, and god-awful cringy voice acting puts this up there with the worst of the worst games I've played.
Do you think that's funny?
So therefore, like with the first one, it's a 3 out of 10 from me.
Thanks for the compliment.
Well, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video, and we'll see you in the next one.
I'll get back to concentrating on the more pleasant things in life.